be with your group at that point. We'll also need you to mute yourselves where we have many, many people. Does anybody have a count here of how many folks we have? Okay, we have right now 79 participants. We expect a lot more. So we'll want to make sure we're muted until we're in the breakout room. If you have a question, go ahead and post it in the chat, and we have folks monitoring the chat, so we'll address your questions as we can. Great, that said, Amy, are you able to start the recording?
I did.
Fantastic. So we'll start with introducing ourselves. We have our team here. I'm Erin O'Brien, TSA in the ELA department here in Curriculum and Instruction. I'll let my team introduce themselves as well.
Hi, I'm Amy Bloodgood, and I work on the humanities team as well and support ELA 6 through 12. And I'll be helping to moderate today, so responding to you all in chat and posting the links. And if we don't get to everyone's questions, we are going to save them in the chat, and we will make sure to follow up with you.
Hey everyone, I'm Beatriz Herrero. I'm also part of Humanities supporting ELA, and I am also teaching at Lincoln High School as well, and I will be co-moderating with Amy to support whatever you all need today.
And hi, I'm Susie DeBloy. I supervise secondary humanities, and I get the great pleasure of working on this team with these English language arts TSAs, and I haven't done my hair yet, so apologies to all.
Thank you. Welcome everybody. We'll also have a special guest teacher joining us, and we'll be introducing her officially later today. But that will be Hannah Lee from Willie Brown. Welcome. Glad to have you here. We also would just like to say this is going to be the largest PD that we've done virtually. So this is a little new for us. I know we're all experiencing a lot of new things in what's happening in our profession right now. So we hope that you will allow us some grace and compassion and patience. That's what we all need to give to each other as we try to make it through and figure out new things. We're all trying our very best. We're really pleased to have you here today. We know that you as well have had a very busy week, and there's a lot on your mind right now, and a lot to do. So we appreciate you taking the time to come and be here together. We're excited that we'll be able to have some time to just collaborate across sites so you can exchange ideas and maybe make some new friends, some new contacts to reach out to throughout the year. So we wanted to start today with thinking about what you're thinking about next week. What are you hoping for yourself as you enter Monday morning and log on? What are you hoping that your students are going to be feeling by the end of next week? So we have these two prompts here. We're going to have you follow the link to a Mentimeter, where together we're going to create a word cloud, 2-word clouds. So the first question is, what is one word to describe how you hope to feel on Monday morning? And the second is, what is one word to describe how you hope your students will feel by the end of next week? We have a QR code that you can use if you'd like to use that. Don't try to click on the screen. We should have the link in the chat here. There we go.
And additionally, the links are all on the agenda. So there's 3 locations you can find these links.
Okay. And I'm going to be linking to the live results so that we can see as you enter your words. We'll see our cloud being formed. Hopefully, it's thinking really hard right now. There we go. And as people are adding their words in, let's just look for the patterns that we see. Now, word clouds, if you haven't used them before, as people enter the same words, those words get bigger. So you'll see prepared is probably a really popular word right now. Energized, ready, yes. Relieved, oh, I love that. Excited, excellent. Connected, relaxed. Excellent words here. These are English teachers, let's get fancy, right? Okay, I'm clicking over to what you're hoping that students are going to feel by the end of next week. I see some very similar words. Connected, excited, yes. Confident, engaged, loved, beautiful. Click back to the other one and see it's grown. Ready to go. This is for the students again. So you can continue to add into that if you haven't had a chance yet. We'll actually revisit them later today. But as I'm looking at these, I can imagine that if we did this on any year, we would have similar results. A lot of what we're seeing here are the hopes that we have every year. We want to come to work prepared and ready and excited on Monday. And by the end of the week, we want students to feel loved and engaged and excited about learning. Those things are no different, but we know that this year is not like any other year ever for the start of school. We are dealing with something completely new and completely different. We want to think about how what's happening now requires us to really think differently about how we're approaching this school year. Let's talk for a little bit about what is going on in our current situation. Let's think about together the realities that we all are facing as educators, parents, community members. We're going to do this one in the chat. So go ahead and add into the chat, just reflecting upon yourself and your own experiences. What are the realities that you're facing and that your colleagues are facing? Yeah, we're starting off right there with some really heavy, tragic things that are happening. Great. Let's have some more folks. What are the realities that we are dealing with as educators, parents, community members? Whew. Yeah, to my moderators, are you seeing patterns that you want to call out? Make sure you unmute. There you go.
Well, we're seeing Zoom fatigue, lack of access, unstable internet, Blackness under attack, both inside and outside schools.
Right.
The balance
Juggling.
between teaching your own students and your own children.
A lot of anxiety and uncertainty.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Lots of change. Right, thank you. So we want to appreciate that we are all holding so much right now, as are our students as we enter this year. And because of that, everything we're holding in our minds, in our bodies, in our hearts, it really requires us to reimagine how we're doing school and to rethink how we move forward this year. This is not a business as usual year. Now, we'd like to take us from thinking about all these realities, which are here, they are present, they are valid, they are within us. And we want to move that, holding that still. We also want to think about what, given the current situation, maybe because of the current situation, what are the possibilities that are in front of us? What is possible for us this year? Brene Brown, before our pandemics and everything that that you guys just mentioned has come about, before all that, Brene Brown in Daring Classrooms reminded us of our charge. She said, what we are ethically called to do is to create a safe space in our schools and classrooms where all students can walk in and for that day or hour, take off the crushing weight of their armor, hang it on a rack, and open, it's hiding there, open their heart to truly be seen. It's arguably now more important than ever that we're able to create a safer and braver space for our students to truly be seen. We're going to get a chance now to talk about what kind of opportunities you see in this moment. What are the possibilities? Here's a couple questions here. We're going to send you into breakout groups to discuss them. I'll read them over and you can just kind of percolate on what calls to you right now that you want to share with your colleagues and exchange ideas. What are the possibilities of this moment? What opportunities might we have to actualize these brave spaces for our students so that they are truly seen? And what steps might you create or might you take to create these brave spaces in the reality of today? So we got to be real and we have to have grace and compassion for ourselves and everybody. What is it that you've been thinking about or that's sparking for you right now that are actions that you want to take? And let's think just about the next couple of weeks. How are we going to start? We're going to put these questions into the chat right now so that you're going to have them when we send you into breakout groups.
All right, and we're going to send you, you're going to 18 different rooms and there should be 4 to 5 people in your room. So when you see it come up to join the room, just press yes, and then remember to just unmute yourself for the conversation. If for some reason you can't join a room because of where you are or what's happening, that's fine. We understand that. Got it.
Thank you.
Welcome back. Welcome back, folks. As you're returning, if there's something that came up in your group or an appreciation that you'd like to share with us, go ahead and throw that into the chat. And certainly if any questions arose, jot that into the, not able to answer it today, we will follow up through Google Classroom. We'll post an FAQ section.
I just need to acknowledge how cool it is to see all the faces pop back in and how many people are sitting in this space right now.
Yes.
Pretty awesome.
And kitty cats. I see a kitty cat.
Shout out to the kitty cat.
Yep, they're learning a lot right now too. All right, so welcome back. If there is something that came up in your chat, in your discussion that you'd like to share with the group, go ahead and post something in the chat. If you want to share an appreciation, I see an appreciation there for your group. Go ahead and throw that in the chat as well. And then certainly any questions. Thank you. We're going to be sharing with you an offering a couple of offerings that we have that might help you or might be something you can use or at least spark ideas. And Susie is going to be taking over from here to share our next steps.
Thank you. It's so great to see you all here. I'm going to do a very quick framing to share with you what it is we have created, why we created it, and how. And I'm just going to do a little bit of talking before we transfer the mic over to our wonderful classroom teacher, Hannah Lee from Willie Brown Middle School, who is the designer and the writer of the sample launching lessons that you have before you. Before she begins, we want to just give you a chance to get a little bit of framing, a little bit of context for the launching lessons. So back in the spring, many of you participated in a survey that was the QTEA staff survey that was administered by SFUSD. And one of the questions on that survey was as follows: which of the following supports would you consider most useful for facilitating implementation of distance learning in the future? These are the top 3 responses. Based on this piece of data, our team and every other content team in C&I, Curriculum and Instruction, was asked to consider what curricular supports, lesson plans, or unit plans could we provide centrally to support teachers with items 1, 2, and 3. And on top of this, we held a number of town halls with staff, with families, and one of the biggest, 3 of the biggest concerns that folks named were these 3 pieces. Families and staff wanted wraparound services. They noted that people need connection and that distance learning required more support, more coherence, and more access. We also heard a number of considerations for how it is that we needed to strengthen our distance learning. And this came from our town halls, but also from our work sessions that were convened in order to produce the Get Back to School plan. And as you can see, there are a number of considerations here related to relationships, related to connection, related to attending to the health and wellness of our students and ourselves, and for making sure that the instruction we offer is differentiated and also attending to different types of learners. Most importantly, we heard from students over the summer, and unilaterally, what we heard from them was students wanted more interaction. They wanted more connection. They wanted more opportunities to talk to each other and to talk to their teachers. And they wanted more instruction. They wanted more structure. And they wanted to make sure that every teacher and every class felt prepared to lead distance learning. And so what we did was we pulled together a team of classroom teachers from across the middle school division, as well as central office staff in the Division of Curriculum and Instruction, but also in the divisions of LEAD, in the divisions of RPA, our assessments branch, of Students, Family, Community, and Support Division, Special Ed, I think that gets it. I think that gets all the divisions. We pulled everybody together and pulled together a plan to support teachers and students with a first 30 days approach. And so what the central office is going to be able to offer is 6 weeks or so of curricular support, starting with these first 2 weeks of sample launching lessons. That's what we're here to talk about today. On August 24th, we're also going to be sharing a 4-week Unit 1 also written by classroom teachers, that is subject specific, and that will be a nice starting point for you as you start to think about when you want to move into your specific content, what that might look like. Finally, we're also going to offer a revised scope and sequence we're calling the major work of the grade. We know distance learning requires us to go deeper as opposed to broader, and it requires us to do less and to really focus on what's essential. And so we're going to be revising our scope and sequence in English Language Arts and sharing that with you so that you can design instruction that's really catering to the most essential student learning outcomes and needs for your students. Okay, so these launch lessons were put together by a group of classroom teachers and staff across the content areas with support from central office divisions. The goal here was that we would have a set of lessons we could offer to a school site that would be across discipline without being redundant. We wanted to take the idea of being a student, a random 6th grader or a random 7th grader, and think about their first 2 weeks of school. And we asked our curriculum writers, our classroom teachers, and our central office staff to think about that student. What do we want them to know and be able to do at the end of the first 2 weeks of school? How do we want them to feel? And so together they brainstormed and named all of these shared outcomes, and then they split them up amongst the content areas. And so they tried to coordinate that so it wouldn't be redundant, so there wouldn't be major overlap. All of that was done with the intention that these lessons be used as samples, not as pick up and go and implement. These are samples that we believe need to be adapted, and that the best way to do that is to work with your site, work with your grade level, make the lessons come alive for the students who sit before you. In addition, we made sure that we were utilizing an anti-racist mindset while we were building the lessons, and also built into the very lesson structure that for the daily lessons and the weekly lessons, making sure that educators are reminded about the importance of lifting up the brilliance of every student, opportunities to recognize our own biases, to take an equity pause at the end of a lesson and ask ourselves, who was able to access that lesson, who wasn't? And to challenge and just dismantle these structures that are so part and parcel of the system of public education that we are all a part of. With that, the team of teachers came up with this shared guiding question that across the disciplines, across the grades, each launching lesson set would address. And that is, how can we create a brave and engaging space where we can heal, collaborate, and learn? Okay. Some nuts and bolts here. Because we started planning these lessons weeks ago, before we had an MOU and before school sites voted on and agreed to their school schedules, which we understand are still being voted on and agreed to as we speak, we had to make a decision for planning purposes only. And so with consultation with the middle school lead, we decided we would build lessons for a schedule that had core classes meeting twice a week in 75-minute sessions. The idea that no block would be 100% synchronous, and that the work assigned for a subject area would not go over that 75-minute time period. In other words, there's no homework. Students might not complete all of the assignments within the 75-minute scheduled time. They can do it at their convenience, but we didn't want to add anything extra to that 75 minutes. One exception for the lessons that we built is physical education. And the physical education team in curriculum and instruction, which is fabulous, created daily 35-minute asynchronous lessons with synchronous options. I'm planning to do them all starting next Monday and would really encourage you guys to check them out too. They're very cool. We also worked with our classroom teachers and our curriculum writers to break down these 75-minute sessions, which kind of feel overwhelming, and especially in this new world of distance learning, it's hard to figure out how we want to approach this. So what we asked folks to do was to plan for a 40-minute synchronous or live session prioritizing connection, discussion, and interaction. Then we asked them to use the remaining 35 minutes of that allotted time period, even though students don't necessarily do the work during that moment, for asynchronous or independent work. And we asked our teachers and our writers to make sure that even though folks were doing asynchronous work, that it wasn't devoid of interaction. Okay. So I'm now very pleased to introduce to you Hannah Lee. Hannah Lee teaches at Willie Brown Middle School. She's the English language arts teacher extraordinaire. And Hannah's going to share her screen, and she's going to talk to us about how she designed the English language arts sample launching lessons. And then we're going to give you some time to look through that. So Hannah, take it away.
Thank you, Susie. Hi, everyone. My name is Hannah Lee, and like Susie said, I'm the 8th grade English teacher at Willie Brown Middle School. I'm going to spend the next 10 minutes kind of explaining to you my rationale, my thinking around how I created these 4 launching lessons, and then you will have 10 minutes to look over and read through the weekly overview and the daily lesson plans and get a little more familiar with the lessons yourself. I'm going to go over 4 main components of the lessons, and they are right on this PowerPoint. So I'm going to start with the what. What content will the lessons focus on? What product will be created? The why. Why did I focus on these content skills? Some of the digital tools that will be most heavily used in the lessons. And then finally, ways to make the lessons personalized for you in your classroom. The goal after these 20 minutes of you sitting with these lessons is for you to feel comfortable knowing how to take these lessons, adapt them, and make them work for you. Or if they don't work at all, just give you a better idea of what you can do in your classroom for the first 2 weeks. So I'm going to start with the what. So the ELA content these lessons mainly focus on is the personal narrative with a heavy emphasis on norm building. The personal narrative writing is completely unedited, free flow writing. It's mainly writing as a form of expression. I do very little, I do actually no talking about writing technique. And the norm building that students will be doing in these lessons is around co-creating classroom norms and co-creating norms around how to listen and respond after someone shares a narrative. The product after these first 4 lessons that students are going to create is a personal narrative that they will then share in small groups. I'm going to quickly read through the 4 objectives of the 4 lessons because I think that'll give you a little bit more of an idea of the sequence of the lessons. So the objective for the first lesson is that students are going to co-create English norms. Objective for the second lesson is that students will practice writing as a form of expression and dig into this question of why we write, which is really the driving question for the entire, for the first 4 lessons. The third lesson, students are going to generate norms around how to listen and respond when someone shares a narrative. And then the last lesson is when students share one of their narratives in a small group. Over the course of these 4 days, students are ideally going to write 3 narratives. It is completely up to you how long those narratives are, what you want in them. But once again, the emphasis is on the writing being unedited and free-flowing. This kind of sets you up nicely for Unit 1, which is also focused on narrative writing and digs a little bit deeper into the writing techniques. But I don't really touch those in the first 4 lessons. Okay, why? So let me start with the norm building. Why emphasize norm building? A really big component, I believe, of anti-racist pedagogy is reframing the relationship between the student and the teacher as an alliance. And I'm taking a lot of language here from Zaretta Hammond's Culturally Responsive Teaching book, but I do a lot of work around co-creation. It's not the teacher telling the student how they want the digital classroom to look like. It's really giving students the responsibility and voice around how they want class to feel. And I create many opportunities in each lesson for students to give feedback to the teacher, because I believe that's also another way that that's also another way that we reframe the relationship as an alliance. And so you will see things like the learning pact in lesson 1, daily reflecting on the norms as a class from lessons 2 through 4, and an exit ticket in the form of a Google form, which consistently allows students to give feedback on how class feels, what they're liking about it, what they would like to see more. So that is why the emphasis on co-creation of norm building is pretty heavy in these first 4 lessons. The emphasis on the personal narrative and mainly writing as a form of expression is mainly because I think it's important that we give students a space to express all the many complicated things that they're feeling right now. And this approach to writing allows students to see what kind of strengths they already have instead of telling them what writing should look like in the space of school, which I also believe is a really important reframing we need to do in anti-racist pedagogy. So that's kind of the why in my thinking around these 4 lessons. Some of the digital tools, so I really tried to keep the tools I used to a minimum, in that I tried to just focus on a few and do them consistently, and instead of overwhelming both students and teachers on learning a bunch of new tools. So there's a heavy emphasis on the basic Zoom tools and how to use them, such as the mute and unmute button, the raising hand button, the thumbs up button. And there's a lot of like review of that in the first 4 lessons. Every lesson is created through Google Slides. The asynchronous and the synchronous lessons are combined, and they're all in Google Slides. So that's hopefully easy for students and teachers. I use Jamboard quite a bit, starting with lesson 1 and then going from there. And every single lesson involves a Google form exit ticket. That's the way that students give feedback to teachers, but try to keep that really consistent, and it's embedded in the Google Slides. Really, all of this is embedded in the Google Slides. So try to keep it very consistent and easy with the digital tools. But that being said, going back to this point that lessons are really meant to be personalized and adapted for your classroom, I made these lessons with my 8th grade Willie Brown students in mind, and the best kind of lesson will be one that you take and make personalized for your classroom. So I actually, in the daily lesson plans, when you look there, highlight in purple things that actually need to be adapted for your classroom, such as the norms that your class comes up with, a narrative that you should write and present to your class. But I highlight in certain areas like this where you need to adapt, and there are quite a few places that shows up. But I also highlight in yellow different ways to do parts of the lesson. I heard some feedback that breakout rooms may not be something that all teachers feel comfortable doing. And so in the lesson, there are some alternatives, especially for the 4th lesson, where you have students break out and share one of their narratives in groups. If that doesn't feel comfortable, I offer a different way to do that. But I'm sure there are plenty of other ways to do that as well. But yeah, I hope that answered some of your questions on the big what and the why. And then Susie, I think we're gonna give them some time.
Yes, we are. First of all, let's go ahead and show our appreciation for Hannah Lee from Willie Brown Middle School. You can do a visual representation. You could do an emoji in your reaction bar. Hannah, I encourage you to click gallery view so you can see everybody's responses. One other thing that we also have learned from our ethnic studies colleagues is that one way to show your appreciation for someone and to show that we are all one is to put a 1 in the chat. So if you feel so inclined, you can put a 1 in the chat and express solidarity with your fellow classroom teacher. I'm gonna do that because it makes me feel good. Oops, I put exclamation points instead of 1s. Basically the same mindset, I think. All right, so now we're gonna put you into breakout. Not breakout groups yet. We're going to actually give you time to chew. And this again is a reference to Zaretta Hammond's Ignite, Chunk, Chew review structure. We actually used for the lesson planning. And so we just went through the chunk, which was a little bit longer of a chunk than you would ever want to do with your students, because we want to like nip that in the bud to like 10 minutes or less. But now we're going to give you time to chew. So we're going to give you 10 minutes of quiet reading time. We've got links here for you to explore. The first link is our middle school launching lessons website, which was designed by Connie So in the Multilingual Pathways Department, also a teacher at Lincoln High School, and it's beautiful. You can see all of the launching lessons for every middle school subject on that platform. These links are also in your agenda, and I'm pretty sure someone's putting them in the chat. The second bullet is the overview that Hannah was using to give you sort of the tour, and you can see that in the second bullet point. The other lessons in across the discipline are also located on that document. Third is a link to the daily lesson plans. Those are long and detailed, so if you're feeling a little bit of overwhelm, maybe skip those for now. You could look at them later once you have a second cup of coffee. And finally, we wanted to make sure you got a chance to see the high school English language arts lessons. They're built for a different schedule in mind. They're built for a different age of student, but there's some interesting things going on there at high school that you might want to check out if you feel so inclined. If you have any clarifying questions for Hannah over the next 10 minutes, feel free to write them in the chat. She'll do her best to respond. But otherwise, if you want to go ahead and put your camera off and make sure you're muted, we'll set a timer. Whoops, my timer just went off. We'll set a timer for about 9 minutes, and you can get a chance to just percolate and chew. And then we'll put you in a breakout group where you can have a chance to process further. All right, as you're continuing to read, you're going to get moved into a new breakout session. Is that right, Bia? A new one? Yeah, new breakout session with 3 or 4 people. And you're going to have a chance to have a discussion. So I'm going to share my screen so that you can see. Maybe I'm not going to share my screen. Erin or Amy Bloodgood, could you guys share a screen with the prompts, and then could somebody,
Erin, do you have the screen?
Could somebody put the discussion prompts in the chat as well? Great. So here we are. This is for our review, Ignite Chunk Chew review. And there are 3 questions you might, as a small group, like to address. First, what activities are you thinking of doing to establish a brave and engaging space where students can heal, collaborate, and learn? How might narrative or personal stories or low stakes writing be a part of your launching lessons during this time in the world's history? And what other ideas do you have for launching the year? So we're going to put you in a breakout group right now. How much time do they have for this, friends?
10 minutes.
Okay, we'll give you a 5-minute warning, and then we'll call you back with a 60-minute warning, and we'll see you soon.
And as I send you off, just a reminder that if you're in a breakout room, make sure we hear everyone's voices in the room so everyone gets to share during the 10 minutes, because 10 minutes goes fast.
Hi, folks. Welcome back. Again, as you're coming back from your group, if there's something you'd like to share or a shout out to your group or any questions, of course, that arose, go ahead and throw those in the chat. Great. Looks like we have everybody back. Wonderful. If there's anything you'd like to share in the chat, go ahead and drop that in there. Let's see if I can. All right, one update we have for you is that folks who were not able to access the lessons because they don't have an SFUSD email just yet, those are our new folks. We've changed the settings so that you are now able to access. Great. So we hope that you had a chance to share and hear ideas from each other, and that you have some new fresh thinking, and that we pushed each other a little and inspired each other a little. And we're going to let you know what's coming next. We have more supports planned for you and available for you. Let me just share my screen. We're going to post a link into the chat that has that will link you to a one-pager that has a lot of things that information that you might find useful right now about what's to come. I am going to share my screen here. What's next? Okay, can people see my screen? Okay. So you can see on the one pager here, we've posted our office hours. We have some today if you'd like to join us and talk with us. Please, if you haven't yet, join the Google Classroom, and there's information about that there. I'm not able to scroll. Why is that happening? Okay, we have information about the launching lessons. Those are the links in there. My computer just slowed down rapidly, so I may have to let you all peruse that yourself. A lot of the things that Susie was talking about, including the major work of the grade, there's information there about that. Links for distance learning supports for the first 30 days. There's information also about some of the tech tools and trainings and supports that are happening for that. So we have Hoopla and Newsela, or Newsela, depending how you like to say that. So all of that we're trying to gather there. We will continue to add to that. We will also post this in the Google Classroom later. So this is a good resource for you to revisit. If you'd like to sign up for the Google Classroom right now, you can only do so with your SFUSD email. The ad code is KTDW7QJ. If you want to do that right now, or at least jot down that ad code. I believe we're trying to send another invite to you all, or we'll do that later today. We have all your emails as participants of this group right now. If you do not yet have your SFUSD email and you'd like access to information, if you could just reach out to us. So for example, if you're not able to find those units, even with the new settings, go ahead and email us. Our information should be at the end of our agenda. So you can email any one of our team individually. Today we have office hours. If you've come to office hours before, they're pretty casual. We'll just be hanging out and answer your questions. You can pop in anytime. We'll be there from 1 to 2. That'll be on Zoom. We have the link there, and we'll post that link in the chat. It's not going to help you yet. We'll have to email that link to you as well. Okay, we are coming to a close now of our time together. We want to think back to what we've talked about and your conversations with each other and your thinking throughout the last hour or so. What's one thing that you're taking away from today? Sorry. What is one thing that you're taking away from today that will help you to support your students? At the beginning, we came up with our hopes for our students. I'll link back to that now. These were our hopes for how our students are going to feel by the end of today. So think for a little bit and then add into the chat your ideas. What is one thing you're going to do that you think really will help your students to feel engaged, comfortable, connected, confident, loved, excited, bonded, accomplished? Any idea? Are there things you want to call out there that you're seeing in the chat?
We see patience, engaged, create, welcome each voice, connected, which is the largest word we have also.
Yeah.
Loud.
Ownership, safety, Flipgrid. Seen. Patience, patience, patience. Yes, let's say that 3 times. Choice and opportunities for students to talk with each other. Collaboration, both collaboration and autonomy. Non-attachment to idealized outcomes. Yeah, we need to be flexible, adaptable, and humanize ourselves and our classrooms. The idea of listening and centering anti-racist teaching.
Thank you. This does bring us to a close. We're hoping that going back to the word cloud, I don't have the link right now, but going back to the ideas that you shared also about how you would like to feel Monday morning, excited, prepared, confident, relaxed. We would like to hear from you on the feedback form, some ideas that you're taking away that are helping you to feel prepared, and to let us know what else we might offer you, if not in the next couple days, maybe over the next couple of weeks. So we're going to put the link to our feedback form here in the chat. I see it's already there. If you can take a few moments to let us know how we did today, how you felt today, and also just in general, what are the things that we might help you with in the future. So we'll have some questions about that. Okay, as you're linking to the feedback, and I will let you concentrate on that. We just want to say wholeheartedly thank you so much for sharing all your ideas today and for your presence, and let us know how we can support you. You are so appreciated. We are here with you. We understand that we all are dealing with a lot right now. Thank you. I see a clap there, clapping for you as well. So thank you so much, and have a wonderful rest of your day. You can log off and do the feedback, or you can hang out. We'll just look at your face while you do it.